It is an honor and a privilege to the Guindy Times to interview Mrs. Nandhini Karky. She graduated from CEG.
When my son was born, and the first place that we took him to was not to a temple, but to College of Engineering, Guindy. So, because I remember working for Guindy Times as a student of CEG myself.
Why do you think subtitling is a very important responsibility?
Subtitling was just a transference of our culture to people who do not speak our language. What you learn should not just go away with you. It should flow from you to another generation. So with that idea, I started subtitling Subemy, my subtitling academy. And recently, working with the directors like Sudha Kungra, she herself started her, her journey in films through subtitling. She was director Maniratnam's subtitler.
Hello all, this is Guindy Times, a member of the Guindy Times, the official campus magazine of CEG, ACT and SAP. I'm super hyped for today as I'll be interviewing a notable alumna of CEG. Before that, let's go in for a fact check, shall we? It is no secret that CEG's reputation as one of the top-ranked universities in India is a major draw for prospective students. It also has been establishing many graduates in various domains such as sport, cinema, literature, business, and so on. It is an honor and a privilege to the Guindy Times to interview Mrs. Nandhini Karky. She graduated from CEG in the year 2003. Whether when she was dallying with circuits as an electronics and communication engineering student or tinkering code as a software professional, she kept her curiosity alive by sharing her reflections on social medias and blogs. Completing her certification in subtitling, she found Subemy, a subtitling firm which has provided for subtitles for many Tamil movies such as Surarekotru, I, Darbar, Psycho, and so on. Sunseeds is her first poetry collection, which was published as a book, and it is fueled by her passion for nature and culture. She also travels to the past to interpret a 2000-year-old Tamil classical poetry, Sanga Ilakyam, for the present and the future through her podcast, Sangam Lit. I hope you are as excited as I am to get to know about her. So without further ado, let's hear it from herself, Mrs. Nandhini Karky. Hello, ma'am. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you to Guindy Times for this. When I first received the email from Guindy Times, it put a big smile on my face because I remember working for Guindy Times as a student of CEG myself back in '99, contributing an article and even working on a team to write taglines for sections. So it's an honor, I should say, to be interviewed back by the magazine that first put my writing in print.
Pleasure is all ours, ma'am. So it's been almost 2 decades since you graduated from CEG. Have you ever got an opportunity to visit back? And if so, could you share your fondest memories in our college?
You're asking if I had an opportunity to visit back. We do it almost every week. My husband and I, as you will know, my husband is also an alumnus of Guindy Times, and he was also a teacher there. So we met there and our life started together from the very campus. So we visited often. It's full of fond memories. When my son was born, and the first place that we took him to was not to a temple, but to College of Engineering, Guindy. So that's the thing. It's very special in our lives. So we can visit often.
So moving on to the next question, when and how did you develop a penchant for writing?
I think I've been a voracious reader. Like even from a very small age, my father inculcated that that earning to read. So I would be only in the second or the third standard, and he started me on books in both Tamil and English. So what happened was I would really, wait to get the next. See, first started with the like comics like Tintin and all that. So I would wait to read the next one, and it expanded my view of the world. So that reading was my introduction. That should be the first step, I should say. And then onwards, I kept that alive, that, as worlds opened before my eyes, and, that caught on to me. Then I was just like, I was only reading, I was only consuming it, but it was doing so much. That's the first step. They say every writer must be a reader first. But I just kept on. I was like a very good student academically, and so it was a very normal life for me, And one thing I do remember is whenever we had, it used to be called non-detail. English had two parts, and there was the second part used to be called non-detail, where they would have these novels in abridged form, or things like that. So I couldn't, every time, as soon as you get those books from school, the first thing is I would take that and I would read it cover to cover. So that thing to know more. And then I later on went on to classics, like Jane Austen is my favorite author. So when I went on to classics, and the language and the emotions that it captured really brought something in me alive. And then it was all in the background. I didn't start per se to write poems or stories. When I came inside the College of Engineering, after I came to CE back in 98, then we went to I was in NCC Navy. I'm sure you'll have these, different groups. They put you in the first year. So I chose to be in NCC Navy. And at the end of the first year, they take you to a camp, and we went to Lonavala. So at this time, I decided to record all the thoughts and all my observations in this period. So that is when I started to seriously put my thoughts into writing. And so later, when, I used to record minute things about people, about, what I observed, the nature, in that beautiful place. So all this I kept putting it into a book. And later, when I showed some of my friends, they were really wowed by the writing. And then from then on, I started contributing to Guindy Times. And many of my seniors said that they saw some spark in me, and they said, you should write more, you should keep on that. So that was a very encouraging pat for me, pat on the back then. So you can say that is the beginning of my, the journey. In fact, it started in CEG.
Moving on to the next question, how did you arrive at subtitling as your career option? And there's a follow-up question, which is, why do you think subtitling is a very important responsibility in transmitting the cultural aspects of any language?
It's a way of taking our movies, our localized culture, to audiences everywhere. So, but before subtitling comes translation. Okay, so how I got into subtitling was just like even before when I was in TCS, and I was I think in Trivandrum, we had a training of a few months. At that time, people from all over India, they came over. And, at that time, I was just, there was this song from Kaka Kaka that the movie Kaka Kaka was pretty famous during that time. And all these people, they were like so wowed by the music, and they wanted to know the meaning of the lyrics. So I did a translation for my friends from the north. And they were wowed. They're like, it's so rich, and there's so much meaning. It's not just the music, there's so much beauty in the lyrics. So that was when I tried my hand at translation first. And then I knew I could do it. I knew that I had because I was between these two languages. Always I've been trained in both Tamil and English. So I felt that I was comfortable in that zone of being a translator. So after my marriage to Nandhini Karky, and for his website, I started translating his songs. So seeing those translations, some friends in the industry suggested that I should try out subtitling. So that's when I realized that that was a field by itself, and that quality subtitles were in need. So people just think, okay, English, Tamil, you just go and type 2 lines, that would be subtitles. That was how people saw it. But there's more to it than that, and I wanted to train myself professionally. So I trained with a person called Mr. Barto Craig here from Netherlands. He runs that subtitling course for 3 months. I trained, and then I slowly built a portfolio, approached the people in the movie industry, and that way I got to understand both the technical aspect of it. Otherwise, one would think it's all about translation, but subtitling is not just about translation. There's a lot of technical aspect to it, and you have to also have a sense of the movies, the cuts and scenes and how it flows. So, and your subtitles need to keep in mind all that when you work. So it gave me an overall picture of subtitling. That certification helped me to do that. So, and I think that's what differentiates me from many many other people who see subtitling only as translation. So this certification helped me to see it in a wider angle. Yeah, in a bigger picture. So that's how it's helped me. And I would not say, of course, our many of our song lyrics have Tamil lyrics, especially. They are very deep and meaningful, and I think in that way I'm able to take their meaning through subtitling. But if you see, subtitling is essentially condensing. It's more about the meaning. It's not, we cannot explore the beauty of the literature. It just has to whisper the meaning of it to a person who doesn't understand the language. So subtitling was just a transference of our culture to people who are not in our, who do not speak our language.
That's great. So moving on to the next question. So you founded Subemy, which is a subtitling academy. So what do you intend to do through this venture?
Yeah, so initially I was, after this certification, I was working on my own. So it was like a 2 hour move, 2.5 hours of movie with a lot of, songs as well. And about our Indian movies, they have a lot of songs, they have a lot of talking. So this work was really, it was, had my hands full with it when I started, but I worked around like about 20 movies I have worked on my own. So it used to be a pretty stressful time at that time, when I was responsible. Many of the times the directors or producers would not have the time to even take a look at it. So it was my responsibility to give the best and to have it quality checked and everything. So I was on my own. And then after a point of time, I decided to take a break from it to just explore other things. So in that interval, when I just went away, it just kept calling me back. And I thought, like, what I learned from this industry, I should, and through my work, I should share it with another group of students. What you learn should not just go away with you. It should flow from you to another generation. So with that idea, I started subtitling Subemy, my subtitling academy.
Okay.
And
what is the meaning of Subemy?
Actually, it was started with this subtitling academy, a short form of that. But somehow, when you write it in Tamil, that Subam, in the olden movies, if you see the old Tamil movies, they would write Subam in the end, the end. So I thought that was a very, a nice connection to this, because this is the last work that comes in the post-production of a movie. So everything is done, and then the last minute they give you. And so now I want to say, through my work, you're finishing with a happy smile. Subam is like a happy end. So so that was a nice thought. So when I write it in Tamil, I call it Subami. Whereas if I were to say it in English, it would be Subemy. That's it, Subemy. And then, yeah, and so I trained, I called out for students, and I trained a group of students, and some of them decided to work with me. So now we run Subemy subtitling services. So we worked on many recent projects lately. So this, I work with the team, I guide them, and I go on. I offered another course as well. It was a weekend course. If I have the time to give for this, to take it as a career, is it like, even to take that course of a month or a weekend, there were not many takers. So now I'm thinking of other ways of taking this learning, maybe in an online form, or but that will take some years to come. But for now, I'm concentrating on offering subtitling services to take our movies to other places. Yeah.
So you have successfully subtitled many movies such as Surarai Potru, Mookuthi Amman, Ai Darbar, Psycho, and so on. So can you share it with us your fondest memories and while subtitling the movies, and also with experience with diverse set of characters?
Yeah, sure. That's a good question. So my first memory, my first fond memory of working with the director is with director Ram. I worked with him on Thangameengal, and it was a fascinating movie. More so because it was almost one of my first movies. Like, it was my second movie actually. And working with him, I could, when I sat with him and worked on the lyrics, and I could see it from a director's point of view. We would sit and discuss each of the lines. He put in so much effort into it. So he would say, no, this is not exactly conveying what I want to say. Can you change the tone of this bit? And I used to brainstorm and come. It was a creative exercise, and I was so happy for that involvement of the director, that the work was it was such a quality work, because I could put his vision into the work. It's not just 2 lines of translation, but the director's vision came into the work. And in fact, that particular movie received a lot of appreciation, and even director Ram, in a Facebook post, he has mentioned that wherever the Tamil audiences laughed, in a screening in Mumbai, I think in a screening in Goa, even the audiences there laughed, when they didn't even know the language. And so that's credit to the subtitles, he said. So that was one of my the first to get such a guiding view in the beginning. It was a good experience. And then going on, working with director Mishkin, he would be like, if I ask any question to him about, sir, does this mean this? He'll be like, what a question. And he'll be like, he lost, what a question. He'll be lost in that, that kind of question, and, the kind of thoughts that it brings to him. If I take a lyric and, do you mean this, or do you mean this? And then that 1 minute, he will be like, you can see his childlike enjoyment of, looking at the world, actually. So that was one thing. And with director Gautam Menon's team, he actually writes most of his movies apparently in English, and then slowly during the process, it gets during the shooting process, it's shot in Tamil. So actually, when I did the subtitles, the team would go back to check with the director's original version and try to match it. They gave a lot of inputs, and the subtitles were honed very well for the movie Ennai Arindal. Then not per se with the directors, but movies like there were certain movies, Madayane Kootam was one of the movies in which it was a learning experience because of all the cultural references and the particular dialect. When you go and research about it, when you try to understand what that they are saying, it is Tamil, of course, and we've all heard Tamil, but that Tamil is nothing like what you heard. So you have to research about it, and or the working in pressurized scenarios, like finishing a movie in 3 days. It shows you what you can do, how much you can push yourself. Then recently, working with the directors like Sudha Kungra, she herself started her her journey in films through subtitling. She was director Maniratnam's subtitler, and she has worked with him in many movies. So she has such a fine sense of what she wants, and exactly. And so she helped us hone those subtitles a lot. She would say, like, this is what I want, and she's very bold with her. You can see with the generally people, the right notion in subtitling is to make it moderate, to use neutral language and to make it moderate. But she would be like, you can see her boldness even in the way she wants her subtitles. So it has been a fascinating ride, and each director has added something to the work. Sometimes they may not have the time to look at the subtitles, but their work is talking to you. Whatever the work they have done, through their work, they tell you things, they teach you things, and make you think about how to say this in a effective way.
Your perspective on Sangam literature and its importance in the Tamil history.
Very important question, I think. Tamil history begins with, in a written form, with Sangam literature.